Introducing the next generation from Nintendo. New Super Mario World. Created especially for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It's a bit more exciting, a bit more challenging, a bit more graphic, a bit more colorful, a bit more realistic, a bit more levels, a bit more secret, a bit more enemies, a bit more friends, a bit more sound, a bit hotter, a bit cooler, a bit weird, a bit more revolutionary, a bit more Mario, a bit more of what you want. It's 16-bit, and it's yours only if you get new Super Nintendo. Now you're playing with power, superpower.
Today, we're going to be taking a look back at Nintendo through the years of 1991 to 2001. A decade jam-packed with hardware innovations, and also a decade that would see the release of countless new games and new characters. Our story begins with the release of the Super Nintendo in 1991. A platform that would foster the creation of countless classics and would help shape the next decade of gaming. Games like Super Mario World, Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, Donkey Kong Country series, the Mortal Kombat series, the Street Fighter series, Earthbound, Chrono Trigger, and the Super Game Boy, which would help start the second win for the Game Boy.
They said it wasn't humanly possible. All the power and excitement of Nintendo right in the palm of your hand. Introducing Game Boy. It's portable, it's in stereo, and its games are interchangeable. Game Boy comes complete with batteries and the outrageous new game Tetris. And for head-to-head competition, use Video Link and blow your opponent away. Game Boy, only from Nintendo. Now you're playing with power, portable power.
The early 90s would see the start of the second wind behind the phenomena that was the original Game Boy. This is the time that we would see the Game Boy finally taken advantage of by new franchises and new ways to play. Games like the Donkey Kong Land series, the Super Mario Land series, and eventually the Pokemon series. 91 to 95 was great for the Game Boy, and it was about to get even better.
Get a clue.
Get a job.
Get a haircut.
Get some hair.
Have some respect.
Have some prunes.
Why, I don't want to take this and just give it to
With new games like Ken Griffey Jr.'s Major League Baseball, Tetris Plus, and Donkey Kong Land 3, the world is a better place.
Nice earrings.
Nice hearing aid. What?
96 would be a big year for Nintendo, starting with the release of the Game Boy Pocket. Finally, the Game Boy was smaller, easier to see, and burned through less batteries. But something even bigger was on the horizon, a console that would change Nintendo forever.
The Nintendo 64 Twin Controller Pack, with a Nintendo 64 system and controller, plus a free limited edition clear purple controller. Valued at $248, the Twin Controller Pack is just $199. They're the three most popular Nintendo 64 games ever. Super Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, and GoldenEye 007. These worldwide million sellers were $79.95. Only $49.95 each. Available September 4.
The Nintendo 64 would finally launch in 1996. While this console would see many of the greatest games of the era, it would also mark the beginning of the decline of innovation at Nintendo. Despite this, many of the games still went on to become classics. Games like Super Smash Bros., GoldenEye 007, Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, and The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. Luckily for Nintendo, the Pokemon craze had already started, and there was still a bright future ahead.
Look who's back. And this time, the two of you are partners in the latest installment of the Pokemon saga. It's Pokemon Yellow, the special Pikachu edition for Game Boy Color, where it's you and Pikachu catching as many as you can together. Look for the Pokemon Yellow Bundle Pack. It includes a limited edition Pokemon Game Boy and Yellow Game Pack.
The Game Boy Color would finally release in '98 after almost 10 years of waiting. It wasn't just an upgrade, it was a backward-compatible successor to the original Game Boy that became home to some of the greatest 2D handheld games of all time. Games like The Legend of Zelda: Oracle of Ages and Seasons, Imagination, Pokemon Crystal, Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, among countless others. This system would turn out to be the success Nintendo needed after the lukewarm reception of the Nintendo 64.
When it's least expected, you're elected, you're the star today. Smile, you're on Game Boy Camera. It's fun to look at yourself as other people do. How's your sense of humor? There's a rumor, laughter's on its way. Smile, you're on Game Boy Camera.
Yes, with Game Boy Camera, you can turn photography into fun-tography.
Smile, you're on Game Boy Camera.
1991 to 2001 would prove to be an amazing decade for Nintendo. A decade full of curiosity and inventions. Nintendo had created a few other systems and add-ons in this time that would go on to impact gaming forever, like the Super Nintendo PlayStation, the Satellaview, the N64 Disk Drive, and the Super Game Boy 2, with an honorable mention being the Virtual Boy, which eventually gave way to the 3DS, creating a decade that will not be soon forgotten. If you've stuck around this long, thank you very much. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. What are some of your favorite games and hardware from this decade? Do you think the N64 would have had better sales if they used a disk drive? Let me know your thoughts. Let's take a look one more time at some of the biggest games released in this decade.